Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist, empowering, educating, inspiring, and igniting people just like you to take action with jet propulsion. We assist people to find and embrace their life purposes, live their highest vision, become the next best version of themselves, forging a strong foundation to source to success. For more information on how to work with me and my team, visit us at ldcstrategies.com or coachlorianne.com. Today, we are going to light you up and inspire you with our guest. Our guest is Alexandra Babekov. She is a licensed realtor and also, she does these both, life and disability insurance specialist with a passion, and I mean passion, for helping other people make smart, confident decisions, whether it's finding the right home or protecting their future. Alexandra is there for you. She has an MBA from Hofstra University, strong background in both real estate and insurance, which allows her to bring well-rounded perspective to every client she works with. And I know this for a fact. She's very proud of her two amazing children, Nathaniel, I'm saying it wrong, Nathaniel and Ariella, who keep her grounded and inspired. And her community is really, really important to her. She does so many amazing things in her community, and she stays actively involved in local events and initiatives. Actually, I know Alex, she initiates a lot of the initiatives. So she loves what she does, and she takes pride in being someone her clients can trust, lean on, and grow with. Welcome to the show, Alexandra. You know I adore you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Laurie. It is an honor to be here.
So I'm excited because in this show, we are going to talk about real estate. And then on the second half, we're going to talk about the importance of why protecting yourself is so important of life and disability insurance. And it sounds like scary, scary, scary stuff, but none of it is. It's just a lot of really yummy information that helps empower you to make good decisions for you, your family, and your future, right?
Absolutely. It is really just the information. We and I personally know so many people, so many educated people, and they're so successful. But the one thing that they forget to do is their biggest asset. They forget to protect their biggest asset. And a lot of times people come to me after the fact. I did this happen. What can I do? Ugh. Well, everything is here for us. The resources are here for us. I'm here just to say what's available for people who may have it, great. People who doesn't have it, let's, get community involved and
Yeah,
let's make sure everybody's like gets it.
yeah, without a doubt. You help guide people in both of the areas of your work because you have kind of two sides to your business model. So let's just talk about the real estate model right now. Having recently sold some real estate myself, purchased some real estate myself, doing that, going through that. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of emotions. The one thing that makes it really helpful is understanding common mistakes. So let's talk about some common mistakes that sellers make. We're going to start with the sellers. And then how can I, as a seller, avoid those common mistakes?
That's an excellent, excellent question. And I feel like right now, especially, the market has been completely different from before. We still have a high interest rate, we still have very low inventory. So what do the sellers think? They're like, oh, I'm just going to price my home really, really high and get the top dollar. This is to all the sellers out there. Your home will sell at the top dollar for this market, no matter what you do. If you put it very low, or if you put it at market value. The number one common mistake for all the sellers is overpricing their home. You are going to let every other house sell much quicker because buyers right now, they're very educated. They do their homework before going into your house. They know approximately how much your home really should work or should sell for.
Mm,
All of our buyers, they go in thinking with their head, but they will make their offer with their heart.
yeah.
Emotions is what really, really sells.
Well,
So
that's part of the misrepresenting of the seller. You think your house is worth and more valuable than it may be, right? So
absolutely.
you need to be honest with yourself. You need to look at the competitions in the area. You need to look what's actually on the market, right? Would you not say that?
Absolutely. But that's why hiring a professional realtor who is a middle person, who's educated, a middle person who he's there to work for you only. They know that your home is your biggest asset after yourself, obviously, and they will make sure to get you the top dollar by they'll tell you exactly what needs to get done, the staging, the photography, the pricing. The data doesn't lie, numbers does not lie. If your house is worth a certain amount of numbers, a dollar amount, you will get that, but you need to do it correctly.
How do I choose a good real estate? Like, what should I look for in a good real estate agent? There's a lot of agents out there. Like everybody and their brother during COVID got their real
Real
estate.
estate license,
Yeah.
yes.
But that doesn't make everybody and their brother really good at it. No different than coaches. Just because you have a certification or not a certification doesn't make you the best coach that you could possibly be. So, how do I, as a seller or a buyer, and is there a difference? How do I pick the right real estate agent for me?
Well, there's few things, obviously. You want to look at their past sales. You want to look at their Zillow reviews. You actually want to interview at least more than one or two or three agents just to see. We as agents, we're excellent at what we do. We talk, we get you in, but not every agent will actually sell your home. So you'll have a lot of agents who's going to list your house, but there's going to be very few who's going to sell your home. And that's a big difference.
Huge difference. And that's an important thing for me too, is that there were so many agents that wanted to sell the property I was selling. Um, and they just want, I'm sorry, they wanted to list it. They wanted to be the listing agent. And I'm like, well, why should I choose you? Do you have anybody in this price range to sell it? Do you have, so what do you say to that? Like, how do I choose that right person? How do I know who just wants to list it because they get paid, whether, when it sells, whether they do anything, they just get paid. How do I know who to go for?
Again, you look at their past history, you interview them by asking the right questions. What else are you going to do with my property? Everybody's going to do an open house, obviously. Do they do professional photography? A lot of people come with their cell phones. That's already a no-no.
Yeah.
And get an agent who's not scared to tell you what you're doing wrong. You are hiring this agent, you're paying them money. They need to tell you your kitchen is beautiful, but somebody's going to come and gut it, and it is okay. Tell them these uncomfortable things so they know. And I always tell my sellers and my buyers, the good would sell itself. Let's try to sell the bad. How do we sell the bad? There's certain homes on a highway. There's certain homes have no backyard. There's certain home has no basement. It may be important to all other buyers, but we have to somehow, make this pretty picture and sell it.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that. That's expectation management in my industry. That's what we call it, my profession, right? So expectation management is really important because you let them know in advance, so their feelings can't get hurt when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, oh, this is great. I'm going to knock it down and do it." And people will do that. They will walk through your house. They will walk through your properties and be visualizing out loud what they want to do with the property and what they think is good or not. But there's a lid for every pot, right? So whether you're on a
absolutely.
highway, whether you're on a major street, whether you're in a quiet neighborhood, some people don't like that. Some people prefer to be close to transportation. Some
Yep.
people want to be near walkable. So again, what are really good questions to ask a real estate agent when you're doing that interview? Like, give me five top questions to ask a real estate agent.
I would just say I would like to see your past history. I want to see
And what
their,
does that tell me?
it just tells you that they really did sell in the area. Getting an agent who knows your area in and out is a key, and I'm going to repeat it again, is the key to sell your home.
Why?
Because if you have somebody who lives in Queens and the agent is in Suffolk, she doesn't know the area. She doesn't know the school district. You know, I currently live in Long Island. My kids go to Roslyn School District. I get to tell my buyer, guess what? This school is amazing because this happened. If I live in Queens, if I lived in Suffolk, I can't talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the proximity to your agent needs to be there for you to do all the showings. If she's in Suffolk or she's somewhere else, how can they really put you as a priority?
True, because they'll be traveling a lot, and then what if they?
Absolutely. You want
Yeah,
to know how your property is going to be advertised. Like I said earlier, the professional photography. Do you provide a floor plan? The floor plan is a key. Some homes are big, some homes are small. I want to be as a buyer, I want to look at the house and I want to see, do I picture myself there or not?
Yeah, the other thing with the floor plan, I think it's real important. After buyers are seeing two, three houses, you think you're going to remember it. You're not going to. The floor plan will help you remember. Oh, this is the house with the blah blah. Didn't this house have X, Y, and Z? Oh no, that's the other house that has X, Y, and Z. And I think I agree with the floor plan too. I think that's a huge selling feature, and a lot of real estate agents don't do that.
Yeah. Also, how good are their negotiating skills? Negotiating skills is the key. I have new agents, they're like, I can do it. Yes, everybody can list a house, everybody can sell a house, but can somebody get you the top dollar for your home? And that's the key. So I would say, how good are their negotiation skills? How good are their marketing strategy skills? What do you do in the transaction? Are you going to be there and hold my hand doing the inspection and appraisal? And what happens if there's a situation? And there's always a situation. And
Always.
how do you handle yourself?
Yeah, always, always a situation. I like problem solvers. That's what I look for in real estate agents, someone who's a problem solver, not a problem maker, because
Right.
there are some agents out there that make more problems than it's worth because they're sitting there trying to get another $50 in their commission and they may lose the deal. I want somebody who wants to close the deal. So that's one of the questions,
Yeah,
how
and
successful
integrity
is
is
your
the
deal?
key. Absolutely. Integrity is the key.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's just back up a little bit. What's the role of a real estate agent? Because I think people have the wrong perception.
I agree. I agree. The role is we are the middle people. We take your biggest asset and we make sure that we market and we get it ready to make sure you get the top dollar for your home. And
Why
what is
can't
it?
I do that? Why can't I do that without a real estate agent?
So it's very similar to doctors. Would you ever operate on your own child? You're too close to
Oh,
home,
yeah, no, yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're too
Pun
close to
intended.
home. If somebody comes to you and say, Lorianne, you're the owner, yes. If they don't like your kitchen, they won't be able to tell you this to your face because they don't want to hurt your feelings. So what happened is most of our sellers who are selling themselves for sale by owner, and we love them all, but I urge you that it is the biggest mistake that they can do selling their home by themselves if they have very little experience or no experience. Use a
Yeah,
professional, use the right professional. So they'll come to you and they'll say, okay, thank you so much for showing. We'll call you. And you're going to sit there. Did they like it? Did they not like it? What are they going to do? So then they're going to come to you and say, okay, we liked it. And they're going to offer you what you want. But do you have those negotiation skills to get more? Do
mhm.
you ask, do you have a pre-approval? So let's say you do, and they show you the pre-approval. Do you know what you're looking at? How do you know what their bank statement says? Just because certain things are there, a lot of good professional realtors, they know most of all the mortgage lenders. They know most all the appraisals out there. They know who to speak to and who not to speak to. They will pretty much take you from A to B with no issues. Where if you are for sale by owner, if you want to do it yourself, you're going into the woods blind. Will you get to your other destination? Absolutely. But how many left turns are you going to make incorrectly? Or how many right turns are you going to make incorrectly? I can never do your job because you're a professional. I may think I know what to say or what to do, but I won't be able to. So in this situation, you let the middle person come in, you let them stage your home, you leave the home during the open house or during the showings, and let your agent come back to you and tell you all the feedback, good and bad.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if you do everything what your agent is telling you to do, you sit back and relax and you get the offer accepted, and then you move on to the next chapter of your life.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. There's no sitting back and relaxing. It's a nerve-wracking process, without a doubt. You got people walking through your house. You don't know what they think. You're excited at the potential. You're disappointed at the, lack of desire if that happens as well. So there's a lot of roller coaster emotions that come with it. And so if you're trying to sell it at the same time dealing with the emotions, I think that just adds an element that's unmanageable. And I'm not saying that you can't sell your house, by yourself or anything like that, but that to your point is you do this every single day. It's not like this most people have never sold their house before. have never sold a house before. They bought it, different process than selling. So just speaking from the selling point of view, you really do need a professional to come in there and do the right pictures. I could take pictures, but they're not going to be the right pictures, probably, right? It's not going to maximize. It's not going to tell the story. You guys are storytellers,
We
not
are the storytellers. Yes.
not fake stories, but you're storytellers where you're showing them you're showing a buyer what it would look like for them to live in this house by showing them the pictures. Because first you got to get them to the house. That's what my friends always tell me in real estate. You've said it yourself, is Lorianne. You have to have the right pictures up there so that they're incentivized for them to come into look further at your house. So if those pictures aren't beautiful and crisp, if they're blurry, don't even start me on my best days. She's like, they're blurry pictures. Don't even bother. He like ruled it right out. She's like, nope. And no floor plan. Nope. So it's
Yes.
things like that by having a professional like yourself, I believe that that's an asset that you deal with all these ups and downs all the time. So when things come up, they may come up every single sale, but I wouldn't know that as first time seller, right? So it looks like disastrous for me when you're like, no, no, I know how to handle this. You also, as a real estate agent, to being just completely transparent, is you work a lot with the attorneys, which
Yes.
sometimes, and I love my attorneys. I went to law school, all the disclaimers I can possibly make right now, but sometimes our attorneys get a little too rambunctious and they kind of get in the way of the sale. How do you work with your attorneys? How do you work with the other? Because I feel like there's so many arms in New York sales, because in New York, the sales are very different than in other states. So when you're listening to this from other states, understand it's crazy in New York. If you can sell something in New York, you can sell something anywhere, I think, because you have
They
two
call
real
us
estate
special.
agents. Yeah, it's very special. You have two real estate agents, you have two attorneys at the minimum, you have two mortgage companies, most likely. You have all these people in between you and the buyer. Um, and
Absolutely.
and it's
Yes.
hard you play telephone sometimes. Like what I communicate to you, if it's not interpreted right and you take it back to them, it might be misinterpreted or because you're bringing it to the other real estate. So how do you manage that? And how do I find somebody who's going to communicate properly for me? Like what questions do I ask?
Again, great question. We always tell our sellers and our buyers, do you have an attorney? And the first thing they'll say, yes, my cousin John Schmo, and great. So I would look him up, and let's say he's a personal injury attorney. And I love all my attorneys, but
Yeah.
if he's a personal injury attorney, he's not a good real estate attorney. You would want to make sure that that particular attorney is a real estate attorney, which is the key to everything.
Why?
Because a
Why?
lot of
Tell me. I mean, I
attorneys,
know why, because every attorney has their specialty, right? So you wouldn't want a
correct.
foot doctor doing your heart surgery.
Correct, because if he's in court fighting for his personal injury case, because he's going to get 8 times more, if not 15 times more, what you paying him in a real estate transaction, he's in court fighting for something else. He cannot review your agreement that needs to be reviewed, let's say, right away.
Or he's
Um,
not used to it. He or she is not used to
exactly.
reviewing those
He's
type
not.
of. They don't do it every day. You want somebody who does this religiously, so it's out of pocket. It's a natural thing, right?
And we had a lot of attorneys who would break a lot of deals because they'll give them a timeline. The there's standard. If an attorney gets a deal sheet, he should send the contract within 2 days. Sometimes they'll do it right away. Sometimes they'll say 3 days. But if it take a week to do it, the seller's going to say go to the next buyer.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Or the buyer's
Oh,
gonna walk
or
away.
the buyer's going to walk away
Yeah.
because something else comes up. So that's another thing when you do hire an attorney, a realtor, she comes with her team. She can say, okay, call A, B, or C, figure out who do you click. That's what, they do great legal work and they're going to make sure you're on top of, every time you call them, they're there.
So some skeptics will say to that, oh, but she gets you're getting a kickback from the attorney, from the title company, from the blah, blah, blah. That's the only reason why you're referring them. And I know for a fact that that's not necessarily the case, and that what it is you know how to work with them. You guys can talk shorthand with each other. You also know that you can rely on the fact that they too are problem solvers, hopefully.
Absolutely. I feel like kickbacks is such a terminology that, years ago, many years ago, it was possibly it, where the attorney will pay for your marketing, or they'll pay for the open house, or they'll do something with everything is so different now. Believe me, for a realtor, speaking from experience, we just want a deal done. We don't
Yeah.
care who pays what. I work with a lot of attorneys who will get the job done, and they'll say to me, I can't afford paying for your open house. I don't care. Just get this file done.
Yeah.
And then I have attorneys who say, I'll give you this, I'll give you this, I'll give you this, and they're not good attorneys. Believe me, realtors are going to pick the attorney who's going to get the deal closed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, you don't get paid unless you close the deal.
We
The
all
attorney
work on
doesn't get paid
commission.
unless they
Yes.
close the deal. So it always amazed me when, the somebody is showboating, showing somebody how good they are. I had an experience with a real estate agent to show his people how good he was, and he almost lost the deal for his people. And we were able to sidestep it so that we were able to get the right information to the people, so that they understood what was really going on. And what it was his attorney, their attorney was getting in their way. Not attorney, I'm sorry, real estate agent was getting in their way because he was trying to prove how smart he was. I don't know to whom, but you're not smart if you're not closing the deal. So again, I'm encouraging people to find people like yourself who you want to close the deal. You're going to be creative. You're going to find ways to close the deal. You're going to find ways to negotiate. You're a very good negotiator. You're a tough negotiator. Yeah, and you hit in the emotions too when you negotiate. So I kind
Absolutely. And I feel like a lot is personalities. I can get along with you. I may not get along with somebody else. So when you get an attorney and two attorneys in, and they're keep fighting with one of, with themselves, the only people who are going to suffer are my buyer and my seller.
yeah,
So when we as agents come in, okay, I see your personality, you're
there's a conflict.
strong, you're strong. I'm going to get you an attorney who's just going to tell you exactly what you need. I'm not going to recommend an attorney who's going to take their time explaining everything. This is not you. You
Yeah.
want results. You want to make sure everything's done. You don't want to read every little thing that you don't have to. Great. Lorianne, and that's why I always give options, because I don't want people to think that I'm getting kickbacks, because I really don't.
Hmm.
And I want to give you an option for you to pick from A, B, or C.
Yeah.
And if you have your own, great, but make sure he follows, all the guidelines.
Now, one thing that I do, and that's perfect. Thank you for that. One thing that I do, and I use this term and I mean it with love, is that you're a pit bull. You are a strong person who will not accept certain things. It's like, no, that's not how it works. And I really think I recommend highly that when you're looking for a real estate agent, you want to look for someone like yourself who is strong. You know your business, you articulate it very clearly, and you're there to help the people find their forever home, which may be their forever home, right? Or at least their next home. And you do it with such passion. Where did that passion come from?
I think I was born with it. I think a big part of it is my dad always wanted a boy, and he was like, I can't raise you as a girl, but I'm going to raise you as a boy. So I'm going to teach you everything there is to know and everything you need to do. And you know what? My biggest strength is that I put my clients' needs first.
Yeah,
And I think once they see that, the trust comes in. And
yeah.
once you have somebody who you show that they come first. I mean, I talked my buyers out of a house that I know is going to give them problems. Do I want to make that commission? Absolutely. This is how I feed my kids. But you know what? I wanted them to buy a house and then thank me later and say, this is exactly what we need.
Well,
Versus
you
a
can,
house that has certain things that I know it's going to give them a lot of issues later on.
yeah, yeah, and that's again another reason why you need to have an expert in there, being able to differentiate with what they really want, and also listen to, they may say they want X, but they really don't, and they don't
Absolutely.
even realize that, and you kind of have to talk to them to help them understand what they really want, because a lot of times we don't really know what we want. We know what
Absolutely.
makes us feel yummy, but then we have to think, okay, that's really nice. And yeah, there's a pool, but are you prepared to take care of that pool? Are you prepared to watch your children every time they go in the backyard because of the pool? These are things that one has to think about before you make that commitment to getting that house. And I love that no like trust factor. The more that they trust you, the more you'll settle down. It's very emotional selling your house. especially if you've been there a long time.
Right.
And the thing is it's also your reputation. So you want to know that you put them in a house that's going to make them happy, and that makes you happy. I know you well enough to say that on your behalf. Is I know you feel such yumminess, such goodness when you put somebody in a house that they really want. And
Absolutely.
you do put their needs in front. I know that we were talking about real estate and stuff like that, and the tidbits, the gems that you would put out there just so matter of factly because you do this every single day was invaluable. It was so helpful in understanding that. So educate yourself, know what you're doing when you're going to sell something. And we're going to jump into a short break. And then we want to come back. I want to talk about the buyers real quick. And then I want to talk about life and disability insurance and the what's and the fours and the why should we have it, because that's a subject that usually puts fear in people's minds. And I want them to feel that same calmness I felt after I spoke to you about this. When you were telling me what you do, I'm like, what do you do now?
Right.
And you were telling me that. And I'm like, ew, I don't like insurance. And you're like, wait. It's not what you think, and I love that point. So with that little teaser, you're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with Alexandra Babekov. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne. If you would like to be a guest or lift up your business, not for profit, or if you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. Let me do it a little less New York fast. Healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you and appreciate all of your input. In the meantime, today we are talking to the lovely Alexandra Babekov. She is a real estate agent. She is a life and disability insurance guru. She is just a wonderful human being, and I just truly, truly adore you. So we were talking about sellers. Let's quickly touch on what are the most common mistakes buyers make.
So right now everything has shifted as of last August, where the buyer really does need their own representation to go and look for a home. They can definitely use a listing agent, which can be great and not so great. I want the buyers to really take away that bringing your own buyer's agent is a big key for you, because the buyer works directly for you. The listing agent will always work for the seller. Their fiduciary right is for the seller. They want to make sure that they will answer your questions, but again, they're primarily they work for the seller. So when you do hire a buyer's agent, which a lot of sellers still pay for their commission, I have to say, the buyer's agent will really tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly about the house.
So let me just back up for a second before you continue with that, because you make a good point. First of all, there was a litigation where there wasn't a separation between. Now we always go, oh, if it's a 4% commission, two goes to the seller's agent, two goes to the buyer's agent. If there's no agent, then the percentage only goes to whichever agent there is. In other states other than New York, in most other states other than New York, the same thing happens, but it's a different process. And so we have a different process in New York State, which is a little bit more intense, we shall say, because we actually go to contract, then we go, we make an offer, and we don't go to contract until after the offer is accepted. In a lot of states, when you make the offer, that is the contract. So
Right.
understand what state you're in, understand how it works before you proceed. But it's really good to have somebody who's representing you, because I had an incident a couple of years ago. I shouldn't call it an incident, but I was none too happy. My agent, as a buyer, wasn't really representing me. It sounded more like they were representing the seller more than they were representing me, and it annoyed the bejeebies out of it.
Mhm.
So that isn't a good fit for an agent, for a buyer, because you want the buyer's agent to represent you, not the seller. And
Correct.
all the languaging was, well, they're not going to do this and they're not going to do it. Well, how do you know? You didn't ask them. So understand you have a right that if you ask your agent to go ask
Mm.
something or get information, they have to make the offer. They have to go ask those questions, even if they're trying to talk you out of it. So I think it's important for people to understand that because a lot of times they don't, and a lot of people don't get an agent. And I think it's important to have that separation now. So the separation between who pays for it and stuff, it's still generally the seller. It comes out of it, but at the end of the day, it's one pot. We're just taking the pieces out of that same pot. So say it's the buyer, say it's the seller. It doesn't matter. It
It
still comes
doesn't
out of
matter.
the same
You need a
pot.
buyer, you need a seller, you need an attorney, you need an agent. And so at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter who's bringing a check because it's all comes out of the amount you both agree.
Exactly, exactly. So don't get mixed up and don't worry about that. There's a lot more paperwork now because, what would we be in New York without a whole lot of paperwork, right? So
Right,
don't be
right.
intimidated by that. But again, that's another reason why you have an attorney. That's another reason why. And let me really break a misconception. In New York State, it is not a law that you have to have an attorney. It is a highly recommended action, and people really prefer it because you're going to be more protected. And because we have so many layers in New York State, I highly highly recommend you get an attorney, but it is not a law, and a lot of times not reputable real estate agents will say, well, it's a law. It's not. It's your prerogative. It's always your prerogative because if you sell by yourself, if you are a homeowner that sells your house without a real estate agent, you're allowed to do that too. But understand there's risks. There's risks that you're not going to get the most money. There's risks that you're not going to know all the things that you should know. There's risks that they're not going to be protected and you may or may not know how to read the materials. So highly recommend you get professionals in all those areas. I always say as a coach, stay in your wheelhouse. If you're a mechanic, try not to be a real estate agent because it's not what you do every day. But I'm telling you, if you're a mechanic and I ask you about an engine, you're going to know the answers right off the top of your head. So will good real estate agents. And am I right on that? Would you agree?
100%. I feel like as a real estate professional who's been doing this for over 10 years, we've seen it all and we're constantly learning. So just when you think, oh my God, I didn't see it, yeah, we've seen it and we know. We're here to make your job easier.
Yeah,
A lot of people wear a lot of hats. They're working, they're a parent, they're a spouse, they have a social life. Why would you want to give up your weekend and do an open house and you have no idea what the paperwork is like?
yeah,
So it's like you said, there's paperwork that you need to fill out. There's paperwork that needs to go on with every little thing. The last thing you want to do is not to have certain things done correctly or incorrectly. And then they're like, you're the closing table. Oh, you didn't have a CO for your house. Okay, now we have to take money into escrow. Now we have to either wait till you close or reduce the price.
yeah. It's a
A
overcome.
realtor right away, day one at my listing appointment, I'll ask you, give me your COs, let's check if there's any open permits. Let us do that heavy lifting job for you so then you can continue being the spouse, the parent, enjoy your social life, work, whatever the crazy stuff you need to do, you go ahead and do it, but leave it to us.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so back to my question.
yes.
Five most common mistakes first-time buyers have.
That they go directly to the listing agent because that listing agent may not really work directly for you because they really do work for the seller. The hard buyer biggest mistakes that they do is not getting a pre-approval. You want to go and speak to a mortgage lender and see your options. You want to make sure your credit is good to go. The last thing you want to go look at the house, fall in love with the house, and now you cannot afford it. You
Yeah,
know,
unless you get pre-approved, how do you know how much you can spend?
Absolutely. A lot of times, how do you know if you have, most of the people I know, they know if they have good credit or not. And then if they do need a little bit help with the credit, we do help them. Like our job doesn't just stop to show you a house or to sell you the house. We go above and beyond. And I feel like that's how the insurance piece comes into soon of our conversation is we get to do everything for you. You need a plumber, we got you. You need somebody to grieve your taxes, we got you. Whatever it is that you need, we'll have it for you because we meet so many people during our transaction.
Yeah, I call them power partners. You surround yourself with a lot of people who do the other things, and that's their specialty, title specialty. Like you said, grieving your taxes, a specialty. You can do it yourself, but
And the
it's
thing
probably
is,
better.
yes, and the thing is, we did the dirty work. We already know which company works, which company doesn't. We
Yeah.
already know which attorney is great, which attorney is not so great.
Yeah.
Like we did the dirty work for you. Just ask, and we're here to present.
Yeah, I love that when they're like, well, I do have an attorney. Yes, I do. Who's your attorney? And you mention the name and they're like, oh, what
Right.
does that mean? It's like, oh, well, it's just this, and this. This has been our experience. It's good to know, you know. Or you get a real estate person and it's like, oh, it's Alexandra. Yeah. Yeah, she's going to do a good job for you. A lot of repeat business come from doing a good job too.
Yes.
That's your investment. Some people go, well, they just sell one house. It's not a big deal. They don't really care. No, not all agents work like that because people buy and sell houses throughout their lifetime. A lot of people do. So you want to keep into that relationship. Plus, sometimes the mom and dad is selling the house, and then they have kids who are buying houses. So you build you're a relationship builder, and
Relationships. Our
with
main
that,
thing is we build relationships for life, where people call us all the time. They'll call us on their personal events, birthdays, bar mitzvahs, any little thing, because we stay connected.
yeah, yeah, and I love that about you. And a good real estate person will have a lot of repeat clients. That's a number one question I ask. How many repeat clients are you selling to? And when that number is nice, it's good. It's good to have.
But yeah,
So you shifted very nicely into the life and disability insurance questions because it's so important to protect yourself, and only you can protect your assets, and only you can feel that warm fuzziness. Now you're buying a house, now you have all these assets, and we want to protect it. So why is life insurance important, even if you're young and healthy? You're young, you have young children. Why would I buy life insurance now?
well, because life itself is so unpredictable. Locking a policy while you're young and healthy gives you so many positive options. You get your lower premium, you have your peace of mind, you have your financial security, your protection for future. Um, your debt and for all your funeral costs, it's all already covered. We so busy with our lives that we don't get to protect our biggest asset. And if God forbid, I mean, this all came to me after COVID when a lot of my clients
Tell
called
your
me.
story. Tell your story. Tell your story. Your
It's
story is amazing because it's the reason why you do what you do, and your why is important for other people. So please tell your story if you don't mind sharing it.
No, no, of course. So my story is in twofold. So after COVID, I had my clients come in and say to me, I lost my spouse. I can't afford my mortgage. Okay, so we would have to sell the last thing they wanted to do now, more than their family member, and now we have to move them. Um, and then I went personally through, I had a very happy marriage for 16 years. Things didn't really go well. Again, COVID was a big um factor in it. But, here I am selling homes for over 10 years, helping so many families, have a great degree, have excellent money stream coming in, and then COVID hits, divorce happens, and I am not here protecting my biggest asset. I did not have my life insurance policy. I did not have my disability policy. I had nothing to protect my kids or my future. And I said to myself, like, this is crazy. How did we not know all this? And every time that I speak to somebody and I bring them this information, they were like, yeah, we don't have this. Running a policy for somebody who's young, which by the way, I have it all now, and so does my kids. Um, no one's ready for their plan B. I was not ready for my
Nobody
plan
tells
B.
us, Alexandra,
Nobody
nobody
tells
tells
us.
us. It's not a class in high school. It's not a class in college. Nobody tells us this. So unless we're with family members who have done it or have you as a friend, you won't know to do something like this. And what's the benefit? Like, what's the big deal? I get disability insurance through my work. Why should I have my own disability insurance? All this wonderful stuff. So I love your story. And the reason why you do what you do is because it was firsthand. You got scared, right?
I got scared. I don't want my march to be for anyone else. So if I can speak to as many people as I can, if I can prevent them before something bad happens, and something bad happens to good people all the time.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And it's really just being, before the eight ball, right? Is that the saying? We want to be
Yes.
before the eight ball. And a lot of times things usually something has to happen and then you make things happen. Well, if nothing ever happens in your life, great. Use the whole life insurance money, travel, renovate, leave it for your loved ones. But if that one bad day comes, you know you're protected. You know your family's protected. You know your mortgage is protected. There are so many things out there for us as protection. We just need to go out and get it.
And I'm going to change some of your languaging from protected to calm. It offers a sense
Absolutely.
of calm. And that kind of goes back to you as a real estate agent too, because you're so honest, because you're transparent, because you do expectation management. You can put your head on your pillow and sleep at night very well because you do the right things. And we all can when you do the right things. You can put your head on the pillow is the saying, right? So the same thing with this is if I know I have protection and I know that my sons are protected and that everything is set up, I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to walk better. It's going to be easier and I'm not going to be worried, have this underlying worry that we can't put our finger on because we don't know what we're worrying about. But that's what it is because we haven't protected ourselves yet. I look at it as a bubble of calmness for you to just have the dialogue, have the conversation. And it's not as bad as you think. But here's something that blows my mind all the time. The difference between term and whole life. They make it seem so magical and so confusing. And can you simplify that for us, please?
Yes. Well, first, I want to just go back a little bit. I feel like people look at insurance as their car insurance, as their homeowner's insurance. Like, oh my God, if I'm going to use it, that means that I'm going to get kicked off or something else happen. Life insurance and disability is a completely different animal. It really works for benefit for you. So in life insurance and disability, it's great, it's good, and it can go better. And even let's say you, God forbid, get sick, they're not going to take it away from you because you already have it.
Right.
And if you, let's say you're a smoker and then you quit smoking, then after a year or two, we'll get you to non-smoker rate. They can never take that away from you, like different insurance
Yeah, they can't drop you.
cars.
Yeah, they
Correct.
can't drop you.
So very quickly, the whole life insurance policy, it is like Roth IRA on steroids. It protects your whole life insurance while you're living. You have your death benefit. Everything you pay for the policy goes straight into your cash value, which interest and dividends, where you can cash out at any time for whatever reason you may need. And it's tax-free. So it is protected against creditors. It I work for Guardian. I work for Strategies for Wealth. Guardian has excellent writers. Guardian has been number one for several years now. And it's a long company. It's a mutual company, mutual stock company where that money is guaranteed.
Hmm.
Um,
So it's also an investment.
and it's a huge investment. So a
An
lot of my
investment for your future.
clients, yeah, a lot of my clients take their cash value and they buy real estate. My jewelers, they take their cash value, they buy more jewelry for their job. You know, people in my finance, they take money from their cash value, they invest into their stock portfolios, and then goes back and forth where you keep accruing more money into your cash value policy, and your death benefits keep growing.
But what's the difference between whole and term? Like, what's the
So
term
the
then?
term is something, it's pretty much like a rental. You go into a rental, that's a term policy, you live there a certain amount of time. Your term is 20-year, 15-year, 10-year, 30-year, however you want to design. And it's like a rental. You don't get any benefits accruing in your death benefit, but your protection is there. Term is usually very inexpensive and the coverage is much higher. So for somebody like who is 30 years old, $1 million policy will probably be like $600 a year. Not even. Every policy is very different.
Right.
But for $100 a month, if something, God forbid, happens to you, your family's protected with million or $2 million coverage. So have something better than nothing.
So what would be right for me, not me, the generic me, is it whether it's an investment mechanism, it's like that would be whole life, or it's a term policy allows you to pay for a certain amount of time and it'll work during that time. But like when you hit that 10-year mark, what happens? What happens to the
And
money
convert
that's
it. We
invested?
we always put a rider in to make sure that it's you convert to whole life insurance policy. And you can do that at any time. So, you can give me a call. I can guide you through. We look at everything. We look at your financial economy. We see how much money is coming in, how much money is not coming in. The whole life insurance policy works great for people who cannot save. Like I'll say to you, Lori, you make excellent money, and then you'll say to me, but I can't save. Okay, great. Well, this policy, let's say, is 10,000 a year. You already know that $10,000 not only protecting your whole life insurance, your whole policy, but that money is going straight into your cash value. So there goes your savings. So
There you
when you think you cannot save, you really can.
By utilizing this mechanism.
Correct.
So how does disability insurance work, really briefly?
So
And
disability,
who really needs it?
everybody. Everybody does, because you are your own biggest asset. Because if you can't go to work, your family can't eat, you cannot travel, you cannot do everything that you want to do. So in disability option, it's pretty much, work A, work B. Your work A tells you, Lori, I'm going to pay you $100,000 and I can't give you any benefits. Or I'll give you $95,000. And if anything happens to you at work, if you get sick, injured, if you cannot work, we will pay for your salary indefinitely. Which option would you pick? A lot of people will say the 95,000. So that's exactly how it is. Independent disability coverage goes with you no matter where you go. You can be a teacher today. A lot of writers, they show you how you can still have another job while get disability coverage. They have enhanced writers. They give you the 3% COLA rider. Like there's so many things that goes with it, and it is so inexpensive. But the sooner you do it, the less expensive it is. And, a lot of people think insurance is a gift, but it's really not, because not everybody can be covered. If you already have pre-existing condition, not everybody can be covered. So you rather want to, get checked this sooner, get pre-approved, get your information in, and then see what coverage you can buy. And we work with you, right? So if you can't afford a whole life insurance policy, totally get it. Let's do term. And then we'll get you gradually where you need to be.
Yeah, you go hand in hand with a financial planning advisor. So
Yes, I work with a very good team.
yeah, so you have
My
financial
team,
planning, you have that ability, or you can have your own financial advisor and you can add on to that and work with that financial advisor. Last question I have, because we are wrapping up this hour, believe it or not, how quickly it went, is how much coverage do I actually need to protect my family?
that is actually a great question. So we in Strategies for Wealth, we have a human life calculator, right? So a lot of times I always say, if you're between ages of 18 and 40, whatever your salary is, you multiply that by 30 times. So if you
Okay.
have $100,000, your policy really should be 3 million. If you're 41 to 50 years old, your coverage should be 20 times your salary. If you're from 51 to 60, it should be 15 times your salary. And then if
Okay.
you're 61 to 65, it's 10 times your salary. Now you'll say to me like, oh my God, $5 million, it's a lot. It is a lot, but let's start you somewhere. And little
Yeah.
by little, we will help you get where you need to be.
Oh my God, totally brilliant. Alexandra, I need to have you on again. We have so much more to discuss. I can't even tell you. Thank you so much for your expertise and sharing all these things that you do. I can't believe you do both of these at the same time, but it does fit.
Yeah.
It's for your life. You're taking the number one asset most people have, coupling that with insurance to make sure you're protecting that asset. It makes perfect sense. Thank you so much. I appreciate having you on, and thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with
Thank you
Lori.
for having me.
My pleasure. And I hope we earn the privilege of your time. Again, I want to thank our guest today, Alexandra Babekov. All her information to get in touch with her, which I really encourage you to do, is associated with this episode. So please look for that, and look for our show next Saturday, as always, at 3 p.m. on JVC Broadcasting and iHeartRadio. And always, please take a moment for yourself and just do good things and be grateful for what you have, because that will gravitate and have momentum for getting more. Until next time, I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears, and let your life be filled with joy. See you next week.
Amen.
Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne, America's number one take action success coach and strategist, empowering, educating, inspiring, and igniting people like you to take action with jet propulsion. What we do is we assist people to find and embrace their life purpose, live their highest version and vision, and become the best version of themselves, forging a strong foundation to soar to success. For more information, please visit us at ldcstrategies.com or coachlorianne.com. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to, of course, empower minds, educate hearts, inspire action, and ignite success so you can choose the life that will fulfill you emotionally, spiritually, physically, and healthy to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Today on our show, I'm so excited to light you up with some verbal possibilities because we have the brilliant Dr. Neva Alexander, and she is a dynamic leader, educator, and innovator dedicated to inspiring transformative change globally. With a doctorate of educational leadership, she combines extensive academic expertise with practical insights to guide individuals and organizations toward impactful growth and success. I want to just jump right in here. Welcome to the show, Doc. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So happy to have you here and so happy to reconnect with you. We connected a few years ago. We reconnected recently and I'm so excited to hear all the magical, wonderful yumminess that you are doing out in the world.
Yes, after our connection recently, I had to jog my memory back. Like, okay, gotta remember where I met this beautiful woman from, like, when. But I think I remember our encounter, so I'm happy that we did connect again.
Oh,
So yeah.
100%. Yeah, it was definitely at an event. We were both at this event and both had booths and the whole nine yards. So it was really good. But I really, really want to get into what inspired you to focus your career on global women's leadership and business strategy.
Well, you know what? Pretty much it's more. The reason I focus is something that came towards me. Sometimes it's not just you looking, it's what's, I realize like women are the individuals that are approaching me to, as far as women empowerment, as far as leadership is concerned, though, that's more of what I studied. That is more of, my knowledge. So I have this thing where it's as far as leadership, how can I let individuals understand what is leadership? Because let's backtrack a little bit. I lived in the Middle East for a moment, um, Saudi Arabia, and I talk about this a few times because this is where a lot stems from, right? And there I was in a leadership position at a university, and the students, female students, because if you're a woman, you teach women.
Right.
That's how it works there. And but I realized they had no, like, leadership. For them, the word leadership is associated with men,
Yeah.
and so I had to break it down. Like, a mother can be a leader, right? Because she's within the household, she's leading. Your teacher is a leader. So there are many different aspects of leadership and how to lead using leadership skills. You can be born a leader or you could be taught leadership. And that's also a flip argument. People go back and forth like you have to, learn, or you have to be born, birth, and I think it's both,
I think it's,
right?
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's an interesting concept because I've met leaders before who were not leaders, but they were leader in designation only, but they
Hmm.
really weren't a leader. A true leader has certain elements, certain characteristics, and really it's about the people they serve. They are serving. A good leader serves the people who are working with and for them. At least that's been my definition. So I am intrigued at what people's perception of leadership is because it's generally what they're exposed to and their definition. So that you had to break it down. It's not just over there. We need to break it down here as well. What is a true leader? What's the definition of a true leader? To me, it's the ultimate of role model. You are sitting there setting the standards. You are sitting there giving opportunity to get the best pieces out of people. Would you agree with that? Are you in that same thought proposition?
Yeah, so to be, you know, I'm s- well, I'm sorry. I'm getting a lot of background noise from my end. I don't know. Sorry. Do you
No,
hear
no,
it?
we cannot hear the background noise, so don't even think about it. But if it's distracting you, I totally get it. I get that sometimes. So
Okay. As long as it's not, because it's very loud in my end and I apologize. Um, can you frame the question, please?
sure. So, we were just talking about leadership and definition of leadership, and for me, a true leader is someone who really serves the people that work for and with them, and
Mhm.
allows them to get the best out of them, allows the people to contribute the best that they can contribute, and really is able to see their strengths and weaknesses. And again, just as a definition, a weakness is just something that we haven't worked on because it eventually could be a strength if we so choose it to be. So, I can do math. I don't like to do math. So I look at that as a weakness of mine. But at the end of the day, I do have an economics degree. And so I do math and I do a lot of it on a daily basis. I just don't enjoy it. So to me, it's a weakness, but it really isn't. I just don't want to do it.
I
So,
don't think that's a weakness, though, if you think about it. I
but
get where you're coming from totally,
yeah.
but sometimes our weakness is what just elevate us to the next level, right?
Mhm.
And
An
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. So I was gonna, give you an example of leadership skills or leadership in action. 2016, when I first hired my assistant, she's been with me for some time now, lives in another country, and I used to say, "So what do you think? What do you?" And sometimes I'll get this, hesitation, and I'm like thinking, okay, maybe she's shy, or maybe. And one day she was like, she said to me, you know, "Dr. Neva, can I just say, I don't know why you're asking me this." I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Because you're the leader. So you should supposed to just tell me."
Oh,
And I was like, "Oh."
oh.
So I was thinking that, for me, I was engaging her. I wanted her feedback. That's the way we can grow together, and, for her to really get her voice to understand my business. But it wasn't like that, right? For her, I'm a leader. Tell her what to do. She will do it, and that's it.
Yeah, a leader is
Okay?
supposed to have all the answers. No, no.
And that's another perspective too. So, and as a leader, we should be able to get feedback, right? To see how we can improve or things we need to do. But then there's some people that, depending on culture, they don't understand that, right?
Yes.
Because they were taught, this is what you need to do. You follow the order, your leader says, and that is it. Right. And
Yeah.
on a cultural perspective, again, like here in the United States, we are used to giving our opinions, giving feedbacks, and the conversation goes back and
Oh,
forth,
there are leaders. Oh, no, not
right?
always. There are a lot of leaders in corporate that say this is what you're doing and that's what you're going to do. And they
Right.
don't want your perspective. If we're fortunate, we're working with people who do
Mhm.
accept the feedback and the back and forth and want to see your perspective. I know when you lead from behind, you want the people to make the decision who do the job every day.
Yeah.
Go back to what my dad told me about leadership. He goes, "You want to be a CEO of your company, Lorian? Then you need to work in the warehouse. You need to work at every single job in your building so you have a clear understanding of what they do day to day. So when you're
Mhm.
making those decisions from that corner office, it's based in fact, not in fantasy." And I was like, that is the best advice I've ever heard. It also
Mhm.
makes you very approachable. And like your instinct is to get feedback, be inclusive, grow together. So
Yeah.
perception is no, you should have all the answers and I'll just do what you say. And
Mhm.
that to me is not leadership. That has a different definition. And I love,
It does, but again, some people view it as leadership. Again, another when I first wrote the book Female's Guide to Understanding Leadership, right? A
yeah,
very good at the time we became very, good friends, but at the time it was, an introduction. He got my book, a gentleman, and he gave me feedback after a week of reading it, and he is like, he's from Nigeria, and he went, "This is good, but this stuff wouldn't work for leadership in Nigeria." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." And now he's from Navy background, so
yeah.
just to put context to it. So in the way they view it is, you need to, in order for you to be a leader, it should be like this strong, this aggressive, this, and you don't necessarily have to lead like that, right? Because there are many different ways being charismatic, you know, having shared perspective, being a servant leader, transformational leader, a situation. There are times when you have to step in and say, okay, I cannot lead like this. I need to turn it off, change this in order for me to work better with this person or this group of individuals, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting how culture and experience gives you the definition. I know that if you work for a weak leader, you may develop really bad habits because you think that's what leadership's about. So, growing up and being told that anybody in a position of authority you need to listen to, which is not the advice I give. I'm like, you pay attention, you get respectful, but if it's not in alignment, you don't necessarily have to follow those particular steps. But remember, there's ramifications for all decisions you make. So that leadership quality, there's a difference between in a position of authority versus being an actual leader. And again, I resonate to leaders who lead from behind, who, you know,
Mhm.
culture their staff, culture their people to be the best version of themselves and bring the best out of each of them and then watch the whole thing thrive. I think that's a great leadership style and get people involved, get their input, get their ideas. Because I got to tell you, I'll throw an idea on the table, and the
Mhm.
people in the room will make it so much better than the thought that I had. I'm like, oh, didn't think of that. Oh, didn't think of that. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of different perspectives coming at it. And that's when it's just brilliant. So a brilliant leader surrounds themselves with smarter people. That's how I look at
Eh,
it.
Yes, and I believe as a leader too, you should not just surround yourself with yes people.
No, I could do that in the mirror by myself. I don't need anybody else in the room.
But then there's some that, everyone is just telling them, yes, it's okay. And what they're sending, doing to that leader is putting them in a rabbit hole, like just going down the drain, right?
Yeah.
Because they figure this leader, quote unquote, may have, riches, or they're in a certain position, and just telling them, people are, afraid to give their feedback, their honest feedback. And so they just, yes, it's okay. And I've seen that. I mean, no, I'm not just talking about the highest level. I'm talking about, a boss in a company, people, her workers, they
Yeah.
just say, yes, yes. Do I look good? Yes. Meanwhile, you have something not right about you,
Hanging
and
off
they
your
go,
teeth or something, yeah.
yeah, they go, yes, you know. So,
But that also comes with leadership, creating an environment to allow people to feel comfortable enough and safe enough to be able to actually voice their opinion and give you an honest answer. And sometimes the information comes back and it's a little shocking. You're like, oh, okay. And you have an opportunity to adjust and do it better if you so choose. It's always about choices. At the end of the day, it's between awareness and choices. Once you're aware, you have choices that open up to you. But I also know that you're global, you travel globally. Help the listeners who are entrepreneurs. How can they effectively leverage global experiences so that it'll help them scale their business? Because sometimes I think we live under a rock, and I think we need to get the rock off of us and really reach out into the world to scale the business, to expand our business, to expand our personal horizons. How do you help people do that?
right. So, I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to tell you my story.
Yeah,
In 2009, I went to, that was my first trip on the continent of Africa. Of course, I've been to many other places. And this was not even a business trip per se, but for me, every trip is a business trip because I'm going there to see the opportunities,
sure.
right? What that lies well, because you never know. But on that trip, right? It was an eye opener. It was able, I went there with fear because people like, oh, be careful, you might get captured. Da, da, da. And but I went like I wanted to know this place, and I went there with an open mind, right? The same open mind that I went to when I went to Saudi Arabia, and the same open mind with the Emirates. People focusing on Dubai, but it's the United Emirates, right? So within that, I was able to see different leaders and how they lead. And with how they lead, also opened my eyes to things that I can improve and I can do differently, even within business, right? Because within business, once you understand them as leaders, and if you're a business owner, it can open opportunities for you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
If you know the mindset. So it's not sometimes as a leader too, you have to humble yourself when you're learning, right? Because sometimes we go into another culture or another place, we're traveling, and our mindset is that we're better than that individual, right?
Mm.
And if we take that tape off or that mindset, we will see so many different things that can actually be beneficial to us in our growth process, and can also, give you an opportunity to maybe even collaborate and do something with that culture to our country to, enhance you as a business owner. And if things are working out like you have that opportunity, that means more sale for you, right?
Sure. Sure.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, so you talk about open-mindedness and not going in prejudging what their culture is versus our culture. I always find it's a rabbit hole when you try to compare because it's different cultures, and we need to recognize that people have different cultures and backgrounds. And in doing so and going over to a different culture, I know when I went to Hong Kong, it was different. It was very different. But going over there, I was eager and I'm very curious. So I asked lots and lots of questions. They don't like questions, by the way. I asked lots and lots of questions because I wanted to understand like their hierarchy and how they do things because it was very different, but it was very structured. And I like structure. And everybody knew their role, which I thought was interesting, and knew their expectations, expected of them and by them. And I loved that combination. And when I bring that back, it looks different here, but so many beautiful nuggets to make us better. So I think what you're saying too is when you go in and you have this open mind meaning accepting and open to see something very different than what you're used to. And then finding the golden nuggets in there is the important part of that, and how to communicate and work with each other. Because just because they have
Definitely.
different cultures, they don't shake hands. When they give cards with two hands. And I was very respectful of their customs. It's a custom that they do it that way. When they're here, I do the same thing because that's what they're used to, but then they wanted to shake my hand as opposed to bow, which I thought was interesting too. So they were trying to adapt to our customs. And I love that if we're open to that, we see different
Mhm.
things. Don't you think? You have your observer on, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because again, certain cultures, you don't look them in their like looking in the eyes is a sign of insult. And they look down because it's being respectful. And to you,
Right.
that might mean something, mean something else. And if you're in a leadership position and you don't understand that, right? Because that might be really a horrible situation on your
Major
end.
faux pas on a possibility. Well,
Yes.
we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back and speak to Dr. Alexander. How can they get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you?
The easiest way is my website, nevalliance.com, Neva Alliance, or you could just pretty much, search for my name. I'm on Instagram, on LinkedIn,
And we're
Dr.
going to have
Neva
all your links
Alexander.
down
Yeah.
with this episode, so they can get in touch with you. But yeah, we want to take a short break. We're going to come back. I want to talk about your wealth summit that's coming up next weekend. I want to talk all the yumminess that you have. You have a lot of leadership opportunities, and more about your global travels because you are amazing and have so many great stories. I love your stories. All right, we're going to take a short break. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne right here at JVC Broadcasting and LI News Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Coach Lorianne. If you'd like to be a guest or lift up your business, product, or not for profit, or if you have any questions or comments, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. That's healthy lifestyle with la@gmail.com. Appreciate you. We would love to hear from you. We always respond back. And if you don't know that, shoot us an email and you're going to find out. So today we are talking to the great, wonderful Dr. Neva Alexander, just doing some beautiful, beautiful global work. I love conversations on women's leadership and strategic growth. You go globally, just helping women really take those next steps, take those leadership roles, and even working within other cultures, which must be very interesting. What's the most common mistake businesses make trying to really enter that global market, especially as women?
As women, not understanding, number one is culture. If you're traveling, you need to understand the culture. And sometimes you can't really understand the culture until you are in the culture, but just, you know, try to at least learn what you need to know once you're there. So that's the biggest mistake. They come again, and we mentioned this earlier, they're not being open-minded, right?
Right.
They come in with a preconceived idea and feel, or this measuring stick that everything is the same right across the board.
Yeah, it's
And
like someone
it's
coming to
not.
New York. Yep, it's like someone coming to New York and expecting us to be really rude. We really aren't. And I got to tell you, I'm going to do a plug for the East Coast. The East Coast people are really, really nice. We will help anyone. It may not look like it from the outside, but we will throw down to help everybody. I can't say the same thing about the West Coast. They're like, you got a problem. That's a shame. And they walk away, and I'm like, what?
Well, when I think about New Yorkers, we're honest, right? It's just
Rightfully
we
honest.
mean well. We'll help you,
Yeah,
but we're just being honest while we're helping.
so true.
So that's like
I like
you know.
that. Yeah, we don't really edit very well. Yeah, it's like scary, scary New York people. I'm like, okay. So no, that's true. That's really true. So in your opinion, and I really, really admire you on so many levels. What does impact leadership look like today, especially for women in this environment?
Impact leadership just simply mean, you know, you are making, I would describe as making a footprint, right? So that footprint, if you want to make an impact, it just needs to be strong and also include recognition, right? So, because what let's think about it. If you're making an impact, we separate the word. If you're making an impact, you're making a presence. You're bringing out the best in yourself and others, right? So, as a leader, you really need to, again, it's so simple, understand the people. In order for you to make an impact, you got to understand your people
Yeah. Well,
and
but doesn't that start with understanding yourself? First, you have to understand. You have to be
Of
aware,
course.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And, unfortunately, some of us don't even understand ourselves. And that's why, as simple as it being, they say take these leadership skills tests so you could just kind of see how you lead, right? And, even if you are, a dictator, if you understand that you're a dictator, you want to work with people. In order for those people to move to your tune, you still gotta understand yourself and understand them, right?
yeah.
Because you still want to, although that's not the favorite, leadership style, but it works
For
for
some people it
others.
does. People who want to be followers, they actually thrive
Yeah,
in a dictatorship because they don't have to think. They just go, okay,
exactly.
and they do
Yeah.
whatever. And some people are true followers. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for everybody. I used to
Mhm.
say there's a place for toll takers, right? I think that's an admirable job. It would drive me insane doing the same thing over and over and over again. That's me though. I need a lot of changing
Mhm.
in criteria.
Mhm.
But I also know toll takers who absolutely love their job. They go, no, no, this is what I like to do. I get to talk to people. I get to be outside every day. I go, "Oh, okay." And it's just it's about each job. There's a place for everyone, and that
Mhm.
it requires pride. And that's why I respect
Definitely.
anybody in the service industry. And at the end of the day, aren't we all in the service industry? We all should be serving each other, right? So when I see people not nice to people in service industry, it bothers me greatly because I'm like,
Definitely.
you're not better than anybody else, and that thought that you are because maybe you make more money, you have more, or you just think you're better is not good. That's when I feel like they're not aware of themselves. Because if you're
Definitely.
aware of yourself, I think you respect the other person and aware of that they're a full human being as well. They just have different desires and thresholds.
Yeah, definitely. And reminds it when you're speaking, it reminds me of not exactly the same, but I met a young lady where I tried to tell her about the Wealth Summit, and she thought I was giving her a religious flyer. And I'm like, no, that's, and then after she's like, oh, is it entrepreneurs? I said, well, entrepreneurs is going to be in the room. And then she was like, well, I already have a job and I'm not interested in wealth. So it reminds me of, when you said some people just want to be,
Yeah.
led. It's that they're okay in their position, what they're doing. Just tell them what to do. They will do it, and that's fine. And I know not everybody wants to be a leader.
Yeah.
I get it. But if you do want to be a leader and an effective leader, right? There are things that you need to do, and it's a constant, you constantly learn, constantly, improve who you are as a person.
Yeah, what are some of the things that, you would recommend people doing if sometimes people get put in managerial supervisor leadership positions and they have zero training and then
Mhm.
everybody expects you to just poof, you're a leader today. Yesterday you weren't, today you are. Surprise. What kind of tools should they look for? And, this is near and dear to my heart is giving people the right tools. One of the things before you answer the questions, a quick story. I was doing a training seminar with a bunch of new supervisors.
Mhm.
And they kept asking me this question. Am I allowed, blah, 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 allowed? There's the word, allowed. Am I allowed? And I was like, what do you mean? You're the supervisor. What do you mean allowed? I don't understand. Help me understand why you're asking me, am I allowed? Is it okay? Because they still didn't know what their leadership role was. So they didn't know how to differentiate being the employee to being the
Hmm.
supervisor of other employees. And some of them, colleagues, friends, they didn't know that separation, what they could and could not do. They were never told. So those kind of leadership skills, obviously, you want to reach out and ask those questions when you get this new position. What other tools should they pursue if they want to be a good leader, if one wants to be a good leader?
So, as you just mentioned, training. Another would be mentorship. Another would be networking, peer to peer. But of course, you need a strong pair as well. You don't want to just, speak to someone else who don't have the leadership skills.
So you want a
But
peer who has leadership skills that
definitely,
you admire. So look for someone that you admire. That's how I look
yes.
for.
Yes,
Or
and
a coach.
a coach, yeah. So coaches, so there, I mean, many different, and these are things that I all do with, within my company. And I know there's some overlap there with you as well. But yeah, it's having, first of all, leadership should not be a lonely situation, right? Because in order for you to grow, you need to understand what it is and have like-minded individuals around you and always, I always say it, I'm always learning, no
Yeah.
matter who I'm speaking to, right? So taking that approach, it doesn't have to be, and some people, depending on the level, when they reach a certain leadership status, they feel like they cannot respond to others the same way, or they take that, oh, we're still friends, so I can't lead you, right? And so, you know, again, going back to your question, there's so many different sources out there to improve your leadership, but I would say start with an assessment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are many out there that helps you really identify where your strengths and weaknesses are and what you would want to work on. I think what's super, super critical for professional and personal development and growth is networking with other people because you get exposed to people of all different levels, and you
Hmm.
also get exposed to the what to do and what not to do. And interacting with other colleagues, peers, like you had indicated before. I think that helps us grow professionally as well as personally. As you get to know and find those mentors, find those people that you admire. How do you construct that within what you do?
Okay, so find people that you admire.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I
Within
mean,
networking, I mean, doing the networking and things like that. Do you agree that networking is a really good avenue for personal and professional growth?
of course,
Yeah,
now and you have to be strategic because not every networking event is your event, and but networking within industries, or if you're a part of an industry, try to do that as a networking because sometimes I know some people are so busy networking they lose themselves. So it's always being strategic. What you're going to get out off the event, or maybe you're coming to meet key individuals, so you know who you're going to meet,
yeah,
right? But try to tap in to where it's, if you're going in for an experience, a learning experience, that when you're, leave, that actually happens, right?
yeah,
And
yes.
seeing resources that can take you to the next level.
Yeah, that's intentional networking where you go in. You should anytime you network, it's not just la la la, let me go in and have a nice
Mhm.
cup of coffee with a bunch of people. With intention to meet five people or have a goal, have an intention. So when you walk out, you've gotten that goal and probably many other yumminess that you got from the event. Now you have a wealth summit coming up next Saturday. Let's talk a little bit about it. This is a good opportunity for intentional work here in networking in your Wealth Summit. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, so on May 31st, that's a Saturday, from 10 to 3 at St. John's University, I have the International Women's Wealth Summit. And with the Wealth Summit, it was more people coming to me in reference to why not do this idea. And I said, why not? Let's put it out there because I recently did my International Women's Conference. And
Yes.
from that, it was focused on health. So, people were like, well, so I was like, let's do this. So I have some great women that will be there, that will be speaking from estate planning to PR because people don't realize PR could be a form of wealth creation, right? Creating visibility for people to know you. Even within myself, I'm going to be speaking on the leadership and business aspect for wealth creation. Going to have the IRS there as well because that's also wealth creation. People don't realize that if you know how to save, you can make money, right?
Sure.
So some real dynamic people. And Lorianne, I actually love for you to be there as well as my guest. So I'm
Oh,
putting this out there. So hopefully you can join us,
yes, yes, yes. The
Yeah.
intention is there, 100%. No, I think this is great at St. John's University, 10 to 3 on May 31st, your Wealth Summit. You really get a lot of good information out there. And it's funny, uh, Neva, so many people associate wealth with money, and wealth is way beyond money. Wealth is a lifestyle. Wealth is how you feel. Wealth is health.
Mhm.
So yes, wealth goes with your health summit as well, your International Women's Conference, which is amazing. I know you focused on health this year. Um, let's talk about the definition of wealth.
And you said it beautifully just now. I mean, really, wealth is everything that you just said. Wealth, some people think, oh, it's just money, although it's heavy on money, but it's
I'm in.
also your, success, and success falls in many different area. Wealth is wealth of knowledge,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, what knowledge? Because knowledge can help you grow, right?
yeah,
Because without
yeah,
knowledge, we perish, right? So, wealth is happiness, right?
yes.
So, I mean, so many perspective of wealth
Yeah.
itself, and wealth is health,
Yes, without a doubt.
and
And who
vice
you
versa.
surround yourself with. They always say your net worth is your network, you know.
Yes.
So that's part of wealth is all who you surround yourself with, the type of people you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
where you go, where you spend your time, what you're reading, what you're intaking in your ears and eyes, and food, So
Mhm.
all that stuff is part of you having a wealthy, healthy life. And so it's so funny. I just had a conversation about success similar to wealth. It's like that's different for everybody. The definition of success depends on the
Mhm.
individual. It's what success to you may or may not be what my success means or looks like to me. Same thing with wealth. What wealth looks like to me may or may not be the same that it looks for others. And so I love that you have this summit. What was the spirit behind having this summit?
I just wanted to talk. I wanted to talk about money, yes. But as I said, as time went on, it was more than money. It was more of a connection piece. It was more of course, I believe in engagement, empowerment, and education, right? So the knowledge aspect of it, right? Because let's be real, you're not going to just come in and you're going to know all about how to make money. No, it takes time, right? So, that's the reason why I created because the same also I'm a connector. So within that space, I believe connections will be made,
Yeah.
right? So and with another great woman doing great things. So
Yes, yeah. I love how you curate events, because those strategic connections that happen at the curated events, really is the definition of business growth. And I remember our connection years ago. I can't even do math at this point. Years ago, and I remember exactly where it was. It was at the Marriott in Huntington, and we just connected with each other. You were introducing your book. The friend that you said read it and was like, not so
Mhm.
much in Nigeria. He was there, and I remember all of that, and it was because it was a really good connection we had. You left an impression, you left a mark, and I knew when the time was right, we would circle back to each other and somehow work with each other and do some things together. So I hope that's in our future too. Just throwing that out there since I got, yeah, anyway.
No, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I do believe in collaboration because, you're able to leverage each other once you do. So, yes, definitely.
So the Wealth Summit again is May 31st, 10 to 3, St. John's University, right here on Long Island. And
It's in Queens,
it's in Queens,
actually.
sorry, in
Yes,
Queens.
yes, yes,
Um,
yes.
I always get it confused with this St. John's. St. Joseph's out here.
Yeah.
But what a great event. And are you expecting a lot of people, or what's your expectation?
So I wouldn't say, I don't want to say a lot of people because I don't want to get any false impression,
Yes,
but what I can say, it's an intimate space where we are going to focus in on wealth creation through different entities. So yeah, I'm expecting some, great connections and individuals to be there.
it's so funny that you say it because when I curate events, I prefer smaller events, although I do, everybody loves big events, but the
Mhm.
smaller events allows you to make a lot more connections quicker.
Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and it's an intense environment where you're really doing an intensive and you're really diving in. And from 10 to 3, it's just focus, focus, focus. So I do recommend and encourage everybody to come out to the event at St. John's University in Queens from 10 to 3. Get involved in what is going on and just take away all those good nuggets. Leave behind what doesn't serve you, but take everything that you can and go in with an intention to meet at least 5 people. Yes, I'm being a coach right now. I'm telling you what to do. Not that I tell anybody what to do, but I'm making really good suggestions. You decide. You make decisions. I make suggestions. But the training, the mentorship that you can get, and the potential long-term relationships like we started years and years and years ago can come out of events like this. So, last final thoughts that you want our listeners to hear.
You know what, of course, I hope to be able to see you, some of you guys, on the 31st, but, just remember to know a part of leadership is to know who you are as a person, right? And where you want to go, your
Yeah.
next step.
Beautiful. Be the best version and just keep trying. That's all we're doing is we're all just trying to be the best version of ourselves, right? Thank you
Definitely.
so much. I really appreciate having you here, Neva. Dr. Neva Alexander, we just love you so very much. All the information to get in touch with this beautiful human is with this episode. Thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we've earned the privilege of your time. Again, I want to thank our guest today, Dr. Neva Alexander. And look for our show next Saturday at 3 p.m. on JVC Broadcasting and iHeartRadio. And we can also be found on all major platforms and would be so amazingly grateful if you please like, follow, share, and subscribe and tell your besties. In the meantime, until next time, I am Coach Lorianne, America's #1 Take Action Success Coach and Strategist. Let your dreams be bigger than your fears and let your life be filled with joy. Have a really, really good week. Until next time, bye. Thanks again.
You're welcome.